Welcome to the All the Stuff podcast, where we jam about money, clutter, and food, and the real stuff under this stuff. Join me, Lisa Carpenter, your resident food coach, along with my co-hosts, money coach Jen Turrell and clutter coach Lisa Sharp, as we help you release what's weighing you down and heal your relationship with food, money, and clutter from the inside out.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast, All the Stuff. I'm Lisa Sharp, your clutter coach, and today we are here with our lovely co-host, Lisa Carpenter, who is our food ninja expert, and we have Jen Turrell, who is our money expert. And today I wanted to talk about self-care. We're all kind of giggling because right before we began shooting or recording today, we were talking about what we were drinking. And Jen Turrell, well, Lisa Carpenter was saying that she's drinking coffee, but it's wah-wah, decaf. And I also have coffee, but Jen is like
coffee plus.
What you drinking, Jen?
I have coffee with Bailey's in it today. And I was saying I normally only do that on a Sunday because somehow in my former life living out east where you could actually find a place that served brunch with mimosas, I felt like having some alcohol before lunchtime was acceptable on Sundays. But today I had no cream for my coffee and I did have some Bailey's. So I was like, what the heck? I'm just hanging out with the ladies for a couple hours this morning to record. So I have
get good.
I have some Bailey's in my coffee, and it's lovely.
Keeping it real. So this is going to get progressively more interesting, I think.
Exactly.
It's going to be really caffeinated and really laid back. And probably, just all bets are off. So, yeah, I think that's hilarious because yesterday I was thinking about self-care and, like, what does it actually mean? We keep talking about this elusive self-love and loving yourself and taking care of yourself. And I think a lot of people, myself included, sort of come at that and go like, yeah, that sounds really good in theory. And, we should, I take care of myself. We sort of like think about the things that we do that are just sort of perfunctory, but aren't really soul nurturing sort of things. But we feel like that's enough. And like, who in the hell has more time to do any more of this sort of stuff? And what does it actually mean? So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I refer to internally as my lettuce story. Now, you guys know this story. Lisa intimately knows this story. Jen does also. This happened like about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, where it was lunchtime and I was about to go dash out of my house to go pick up some fast food for lunch. And because that was my habit, and I'm an entrepreneur, I work for myself, I work on my house. If I'm not working with a client, I'm at home, and I'm just working from the second the kids are on the bus till, before I go to bed. And that had really been sort of my MO for about a year and a half, and I had gained some weight. I physically felt really bleh, but my business wasn't getting the traction that I wanted it to have. So I was working like crazy. It was like, if anything, my list just kept getting longer and longer and longer and longer because it was like, oh, I'm not doing this enough. I'm not doing this enough. And so it was all about sort of my perception about what success meant in my business and when I was going to be able to take my foot off the gas a little bit. So back to lunch. So in my mind's eye, I had no time for lunch. Lunch was just to get enough fuel in me so that I could keep doing whatever it was that I was doing. So that day, and Lisa and I were friends through a couple of online groups and had been hanging out. And so she was sort of getting into my psyche. And I was like, I think maybe I'll go get something that's healthier. Like maybe I'll go to the grocery store and just pick up a, pre-made salad or something. And instead I went to a restaurant that's right around the street from me. That's even closer than the fast food restaurants that I had been going to. So I went in and I ordered this beautiful salad, and, it wasn't anything, like amazing or anything, but it was so vastly different from the choices that I had been making that I ate the salad and I burst into tears because it just hit me like a ton of bricks how badly I had been treating my body, that my body was absolutely secondary, or not even secondary. It was more like at the bottom of the list of things to do or to even pay attention to, and that my body was just here to just get me to do the next thing, get my brain wherever my brain wanted to go. And I literally like ugly cried in my car for an hour. So I went into this big online group that the three of us are in, the Lucky Bitch Money Boot Camp, and it's a very warm, supportive online space. So I went into the group and I was like, oh, has anybody else struggled with this? Because people talk about loving yourself and taking care of yourself, and I don't know what that means. Like, all I know is like how to push myself, how to make myself do X, Y, or Z. I don't really even know what I want to do. When people say like, oh, take some time off and take a bubble bath, I'm always sort of like, yeah, but then I have to clean my bathtub. I don't really want to do that.
That's another issue.
Some of those sort of like conventions, like the things that we're supposed to like as women, are things that are not particularly interesting or nurturing to me. And so that sort of brought about this whole cascade of events in my life. That one salad story where it was like, oh, okay, I'm 40 some years old. I'm treating my body like crap. I don't really take any breaks. My neck is constantly messed up because I'm always typing, I'm always working, I'm always, doing something for somebody else. And so that really just sort of brought about this evolution that 2 years later, I feel like a totally different person. I feel so much more awake to my own experience as a human being and as a woman. And it was because of that epiphany. And that actually, I think it was within 24 hours, Lisa and I had one of our first really deep conversations, and I just blubbered, because of course, these are all habits that become ingrained when we're younger, right? And we sort of learn how to treat ourselves and what has been modeled for us, and just the stories about what we think we deserve. And so I wanted to bring this up with you guys because I know this is something that we all talk about a lot, but I think that it's not really well defined. I think a lot of people don't really know what that is. And I certainly didn't when I had my salad breakdown. And I just think it's a great topic because it means so many different things to different people. I think if you ask everybody, they're going to come up with a different answer because, of course, it's very personal. But I really specifically want to know about you two. Like, what sort of things do you do in your life? What would you consider to be self-care? And what are your non-negotiables? What are the things that you do for yourself regularly, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, that you feel really kind of like buoys you as a human, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like you have something to give to the world and you're not just always, run yourself down. So what do you guys think, Jen?
Me? Well, I was thinking back to a story I actually told in another episode when we came across the idea that lots of people don't know what self-love and self-care mean. And I told the story of the first time I came across the term self-care, and it was Danielle Laporte in The Fire Starters. I was listening to the audiobook. She has this very husky, lovely reading voice. And when she said self-love, it really wasn't something that I'd come across before. And I literally thought she meant masturbation. And in that moment, I was just like, oh, like it was kind of a shock to me that, we're talking through these different things that you need to do. And then we got to that one and I was like, wow, that's seems kind of personal and a little invasive to just be discussing it in this way. And then, so it took me a while to realize, like, if you're not in this sort of reading self-development type books, you might actually not have that much of a concept of what it meant. And even that interpretation of it that I had was also shocking to me because, I don't know, I have 2 kids with special needs. My marriage we have a lot of busy things. We run multiple businesses. So that is something that's sometimes a bit neglected side of myself. So it did make me stop and think about that. I'm not going to totally get into that in this episode because we don't want to get, too risque or anything. But I think that is part of it as women too. Like Lisa, what you were saying, just having your body be a perch for your head, something to hold your head up so your brain can be at the computer and working and talking to people. Right. I think a lot of us get into that, either through work or through different roles that we have. Parenting has been a big one for me where I do put aside lots of things. And, sometimes, I know this is usually associated with the parents of very small infant children, but sometimes bathing, you were saying the bath isn't that self-care, you're that big a thing for you. Taking that much time to put my body into hot water isn't something I do very often. It's usually a quick shower, and it's been interesting with this hair. If anyone's watching on video, you know, I have relatively severely color-treated hair. And because of that, I don't like to strip its oils all the time, so I don't wash my hair every day. I try to do it maybe twice a week. Sometimes I even do it once in a week to actually fully wash it with soap and everything. I use dry shampoo. But with doing that, I definitely shower when I go to the gym because I'm sweaty. But there are a lot of days where I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I'll make it another day. And I know that sounds kind of gross to people who absolutely shower every day, but I don't shower every day. And sometimes it's just a matter of time, or that doesn't take precedence, or that I have to do all these things to get the kids ready and out the door, and then I have a call immediately afterwards scheduled for something. So there are a lot of times I don't. One thing that has been non-negotiable for me, I'm saying exactly what I don't mean. Maybe it's the Baileys and the coffee, I don't know. But the non-negotiable, it has been since 2011. I've done 750words.com. So it's supposed to be morning pages. I don't always do it in the morning. Sometimes I do it after I get the kids to bed. If I haven't managed it yet, that's when I do it. But I pretty much write at least 750 words, roughly 3 pages every day about something. And right now, today is the first day of November that we're recording this, and I'm doing NaNoWriMo this month. So I have really...
Can you explain what NaNoWriMo is for people who don't know?
Sure. If you have never heard of NaNoWriMo, it's the National Novel Writing Month Contest. It's only a contest against yourself. You're just seeing if you can get to 50,000 words by the end of the month, which breaks down to roughly 1,666 words a day, which sounds like a lot to some people who don't regularly write, 750 word articles every day or 1,500 word articles every day. Since I started writing regular articles, it actually seems much more doable than it used to. But yeah, it usually takes, I try to set aside at least an hour for doing the NaNoWriMo things. Sometimes if I'm just free writing, I can do my 750 words in 10 minutes if I don't stop, if I just, completely brain vomit onto the page. But that's something that has made a huge difference for me. Some because writing was a really important part of my life. Like, I was a writing major. I went to college for writing. I planned on being a creative writer, and it was something I backburnered and put off all of my life for 40, I'm 40 now. And I published a nonfiction book a few years ago that I co-wrote with someone. I've had some stories and poems here and there. I do articles, but I haven't allowed myself to fully focus on that. And that's a huge part of my hopes and dreams. And, if I were to be diagnosed with something terminal, that would definitely be very close to the top of the list of regrets was, God, I never finished my book. I never finished my novel. So I'm doing it. But yeah, a lot of other things I let slide, but the writing I do. I'd say that's my main non-negotiable. I do also try to drink a lot of water. That's another self-care thing that I do.
With her ubiquitous jars. I love it.
Yeah, with my giant jar.
You're using some big words today, Miss Sharp.
Ubiquitous, that's a good word.
Ubiquitous. That was a good one. I love it. I can tell the librarian in you is coming out. I'm like, I need to get my dictionary. I have so much to say on this topic. Shocking. Self-care. What I want to say first about self-care is not selfish. It's a non-negotiable cornerstone to your self-worth and part of your self-love. And I have clients say to me all the time, well, I don't know what self-love means. And they don't understand that concept. And fair enough. I think what happens is when you start to pay attention to what you need to do for you to help you feel good, that's really what self-care is about. What do you need to do for you that helps you feel connected to you? That has nothing to do with being a mom, a wife, a friend, like just you on this planet. What things really make you feel good? And that's where you have to start. So for some, it might be having a bath. For others, it might be writing or going for a walk. But it's really drilling into what is it that I need to do for me that is going to make me feel good. And so many of my clients, they come to me, they're not like, they haven't felt good. They can't remember the last time they felt good. So that in itself is a foreign concept to even slow down and go, like, ask that question, what do I need? When was the last time? So if you're listening to this, when was the last time you asked yourself, what do I need? And paid attention to the first answer that pops into your head. It may be time alone. It could be a gazillion different things, but your self-care will evolve. So for me, 5 years ago, I didn't really understand the concept of self-care either. There were non-negotiable things in my life, like my exercise and how I eat. And obviously for what I teach, and I just believe this to be true for everyone, what you put into your body, the food you eat, it doesn't get more. Like that's like one of the key pieces of self-care that you have to have, because the food you put into your body literally keeps you alive. It does. It keeps you alive. So for me personally, when I started, it was kind of, because I believe that I'm a little bit of the queen of self-care. I could self-care myself all day long and nothing could get done, which is great. But here's where self-care pulls me out of that pit of doing too much. And Lisa Sharp knows this, because I can be very intense and get very focused on what I'm doing and not put my head up. My self-care is knowing what it is that I need, knowing when I need to slow down, and actually giving myself what I need, whether it's a weekend away, taking a walk, clearing my schedule, watching Netflix can be self-care for me, because I don't do a lot of I don't have a lot of time wasting kind of activities. I exercise on the regular, but even right now I'm renegotiating with me what my exercise is going to look like. So self-care for me right now is not getting out of bed at 5 a.m. to go exercise, which that's kind of always been my normal schedule. But I want to see what happens when I go in the middle of the day as a way to force myself to break up my work day, because that's how I'm going to care for myself. Instead of this, put your head down and just work from 9 till 6 or whatever, get up in the middle of the day, Lisa, go to the gym and sit with kind of what feelings come up for you. Because I did it yesterday. It felt good. I went right smack dab in the middle of my day, which was weird. I came back and I got a lot more done, which was great. So those are kind of the main non-negotiables for me. My bedtime now is a really big one. I'm in bed by 10 o'clock every night, usually earlier than that actually, and then I'll sit and read. I like to give myself time to scroll on Facebook a little bit, right? Whereas people would say, well, that's what kind of self-care is that? Again, for me, it's do nothing time, because there's so much purpose in so many of the things I do. So my self-care is the do nothingness, right? Like this weekend I was away and we turned off the alarms. There was no exercise. There was just chill out, stay in bed till whenever I want. It was awesome. And I was saying, I wanted to be away longer because I had all these, which sounds funny because I've made a to-do list out of my do nothing list. My self-care list. But there was a whole bunch of stuff that I really wanted to give myself time and space to do. We went out for hikes. I wanted to spend some more time coloring. I like just writing. There's so many things that I want to do that have nothing to do with my business and have everything to do with me. So this is what I mean. There's no shortage of self-care activities that I can ground myself into. The biggest thing is if I don't give myself some of that every week, then I'm really not a happy camper. And that's what it comes down to for everybody. Write out the things you really love to do that has nothing to do with anybody else in your life. What did you do for fun before things got serious, before you got married, before you had kids, before everything became heavy? And it can be as simple as just deciding you're going to have a really nice salad for lunch, because that is such a way of being kind to your body, and I'm just going to go off on a little bit of a rant here. So often women are so abusive to their bodies, right? Why does my body look this way? And my thighs are fat and I don't feel good. And it's all about their body is letting them down. They constantly feel like their body is letting them down. And I want to challenge it and say, your body's not letting you down. Your body is like your most faithful companion. It's like the dog that you could kick a gazillion times and it'll still greet you at the door, wag its tail, just wanting you to love it. Your body is the same way. It just wants you to take care of it and love it. And why would it look and feel its best if you're not giving it what it needs? So stop thinking that your body is against you. Your body is actually on your side. So when you actually give it some love and attention and stop treating it like garbage, you'll start feeling better. And when you start feeling better, that's when your life starts opening up, right? So Lisa, you had a salad. That was your big aha moment. And you really stepped into taking care of your body because all of a sudden you realize, well, this matters, right? And we're going to do an episode on aging because I kind of want to share my thoughts as I get older and how it relates to my body, my physicality. You get one, you get one. So keep self-care simple. Doesn't need to be fancy. Keep it simple, but really look at the things that you can do to show love and respect to your body, to your space, to your money. Oh, so that's another big one for me. Just taking over the show. Making sure that my money, like my bills, going into my bank account balance every other day. I don't do it every day. Every other day, seeing what my bank account balance is, making sure my bills are scheduled to be paid on time. That is a self-care activity for me now, right? Paying down my debt. That is a self-care activity. It's me showing respect for my financial situation and honoring it. So there you go. I'll get off my soapbox now. Oh, I think it's so important though, because this is very multidisciplinarian. This is multifaceted. There are, a lot of different ways that we will excel and also be falling down on the job when it comes to taking care of ourselves. Like organizationally speaking, I'm pretty on top of that game. And that's how I sort of keep myself sane, because if I know where things are, I'm a lot less stressed out. I'm a lot more easygoing when there's not, I'm not tripping over stuff. Like when I walk across my daughter's room, it makes me insane. So I don't, because her floor, there's always like little bits of stuff all over. Like those Pottery Barn kids' rooms that have like a desk and like a lamp and a bedside table and a clock and like a teddy bear on the bed. That's like the exact opposite of my kids' rooms. So it just like cracks me up when I go to somebody's house. It's like, I'm like, where's the crap? Because as much as like I love to have things decluttered and like the common spaces in my house are very decluttered and my space, my personal space is very decluttered, my kids' room is like, it's crazy town. What was my point? About walking across the floor. It makes me really crazy. And that was like when my kids were really little, I realized that it was really stressing me out. Like that I was like, I always felt like I was going to fall down because every time I'd walk across my floor in my living room, it was like, walking across landmines. And so I was like, okay, like probably after like the 70th time I stepped on a Lego barefooted, I was like, okay, that is a landmine. This is not making me happy at all. This is making me really tense and grouchy. So here's the new game plan. And so I was just like, okay, you can do this in your room, but we can't do this in the common area of the house because there's just not enough room for that. So like keeping on top of those sort of things so that my stress level is lower is definitely part of my self-care. So that part is absolutely non-negotiable for me. And my family knows this is kind of funny. If I'm really grouchy, my husband will be like, go do some dishes or, starts tidying something up because he knows it makes me feel happier. But like my food is like, before my big salad epiphany, my self-care, my way of rewarding myself was going to eat something that was really crappy because it tasted good and it made me feel better for, half an hour because I got this big old carb rush and, a giant Coke and something, really carb heavy. And it does make you feel better. I mean, there's a reason why we do that, but overall, it's like out of the 24 hours, you feel better for an hour and you feel much worse the rest of the day because of what you're feeding your body. So, I think we all kind of have those non-negotiables in our own wheelhouse. Like I'm sure, Jen, you don't ever just go like, finances, like for you getting behind might be like a couple of days worth, or like Lisa might, have her little thing of cinnamon hearts that she has, her little sugar fix.
You betcha.
We all have our own little areas where we kind of know we're sort of deviating from our norm, but we'll come back to the thing that we really know how to do and do it well. But then there are these other areas that we struggle more, and it's harder to sort of course correct without all of that negative headspace going on. Like I realized that over the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so, I've gained like 6 or 7 pounds. And I finally got on the scale the other day because I suspected that was true, but I really didn't want to see the proof. So I did. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what do I need to kind of move back to? What have I gotten away from? Whereas if I had gained 6 pounds 2 years ago, I would have never given myself, I would have never heard the end of it internally. It would have been
no grace.
No grace whatsoever. Here I go again. I'm never going to lose weight. This is, why do I do this to myself? I'm too fat. I'm whatever. And this time I was like, I probably need to sort of clean up my carb intake. And I don't think I'm eating enough protein. So I'm like sort of thinking it through and like, okay, what can I do to sort of get back to it? So slowly over time, that's become a little bit more of my wheelhouse. That's become a little bit more of my zone of comfort because I've done it for a year and a half, and I know sort of like how it works. So it's like there's always this evolution where we're growing and becoming more of who we want to be, but it's never just like boom, like, oh, I read that self-help book.
Yeah.
And I've implemented all of it.
I think that's an important point too, that self-care can be something as simple as deciding that you're not going to abuse yourself. Like if I go buy a pair of shoes, not put that money on my debt, then I'm not going to beat myself up. I haven't bought any shoes lately. I'm really proud of myself. But I also know I'm not going to do this debt repayment perfectly either. Just like you're not going to do the food thing perfectly. I'm not doing the decluttering thing perfectly. So it's that self-care can just be saying, I'm not going to beat myself up today. Like I'm going to give myself some grace and I'm going to keep moving forward. And I think it's also important to distinguish between what are truly self-care, self-love, self-worth giving versus behaviors that spin you in the opposite direction. But you might think it's self-care, right? Like, oh, I'm going to go out shop. Feeling crappy. I'm going to go out and shop. So I'm going to make myself feel better. But in the end, is it really self-care or does it add up to you feeling worse, right? I'm going to go have the donut and you end up feeling crappier. That's not really self-care. So self-care is stuff that actually makes you feel more connected to who you are. And there's no negative ramifications. So if you want to have the donut, like if you really want to have the donut, have it and be like, that was so awesome. I totally enjoyed it. I love it. High five. Cool. I'll eat whatever I want next time. But if it's a perpetual behavior that actually spins you out in the wrong direction, that's not self-care. That's BS. It's a big fat story. And
I want to say sometimes you can go too far in the other direction with some of these things too. Like when you were talking about buying shoes, I couldn't help looking down at, I normally would never show these on TV, but I'm going to because these are my everyday shoes when I wear all the time.
It's the Baileys, right? It's the Baileys.
And this is the Baileys. Yeah. And you know what? For several weeks, I've been thinking, God, I need to go replace these. So these are Chucks. Okay, this is from my childhood. I have worn Converse All-Stars for years and years, and they're my everyday shoes that I just run around town in. But let me show you this. I actually
oh my God, Jen.
the side of my shoes, which you can't really see when they're on, which is why I keep putting it off. Like, I actually hate to shop. That's why I get this Latote thing. I actually do have a new shirt. I'm just going to show this on here because I think it's so cute. I am so bad about not shopping, especially for myself. And I will do things like, I don't know how many months I've been wearing these shoes and just thinking, if I had somewhere to go, if I'd gone to Shine Live with Lisa, I probably would have bought some new shoes. And it's not like these are the only shoes in my closet. There are plenty of other pairs that I could wear, but these are my really comfortable slip-on, slip-off. They don't even have shoelaces kind of shoes. But because they're what I wear every day, I keep looking at them being like, God, I really need to, I just need to go stop at the mall and buy a new pair of shoes, but I hate going to the mall. I have gone to the mall to get kids like, their Halloween costumes and stuff like that. I could have stopped and bought myself a pair of shoes, but I don't. And that probably is some self-care. I should go ahead and spend how much does a pair of Converse cost?
Yeah, and you can buy them on Amazon, right?
Right.
Look at the size, go online, they'll show up at your door. It's like Christmas, there's no stress. Like that's self-care. So if you don't like it,
right.
And I've been denying I've bought plenty of other things for other stuff when I could have gotten myself a pair of shoes, and I just keep. But this is a tactic that I learned what was the book called? It was probably in Profit First, I think. There was a story about him being with a friend who needed to buy something. And every time he was with him for several days, every time he said, he would say, oh, I need to get that supply of some kind. And then he'd look at his friend and just smile, but not today. And he kept driving. And he was like, okay. And then the next time it happened, they drove by the same store and he goes, but not today. And it was this idea that a lot of times if you put off purchasing something, you get to the point where you either no longer want it, forget that you need it, or the moment for it has passed and you don't need it anymore. So it can be a money-saving thing. The thing is, I keep wearing these shoes and they do literally have holes in them. And it's kind of embarrassing. So, and it's not that I like want to wear holy crappy shoes. I mean, I do have nice shoes for nice things, but these are so comfortable. I just need to go buy myself a new pair of Converse All-Stars and put them on my feet. So that's me showing my lack of self-care. I just find myself, like, I would never let my kids wear shoes with holes in them. And yet I do, right?
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say is like, think about what you would do for other people that you would not put up with, on their behalf. Like you said about, like you wouldn't let your kids run around like that.
No.
And there is a fine line. I brought that up a couple episodes, I think, ago about Gretchen Rubin's test about spending. You can be an underspender or an overspender. And I was saying that I'm really more of an underspender when it comes to myself. So I'll get down to the dregs of whatever it is. The sweater will have a giant hole in it or something. I won't have enough toilet paper. That's more for the whole family. But you know what I mean? Like I'll sort of like eke out what I can because I'm like really that's part of the way my brain works. But it causes a level of stress. And so when you do actually spend the money to just replace the shoes, it's like you feel so much better. So I would challenge you to kind of shore up that time a little bit, like push yourself out of your comfort zone so that you can be more comfortable, because this isn't the sort of flip side of like, yeah, I'm going to do a little retail therapy. I'm having a really bad, week, month, marriage, whatever. And I'm going to go, make myself feel better by, in my case, eating a fried chicken sandwich and, or going shopping or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our vices, right? But, but I definitely think that underspending quality, specifically on ourselves, about our self-care, usually has something under it. There's usually something there's an underpinning, there's a story there about you don't deserve. And so I'd just sort of challenge you on that. Just think about that.
It's a weird, I was thinking about the fact that I actually had a black pair that do have laces that I wore out in the midst of still owning these ones. And I threw those away eventually, but I didn't throw these away. And I probably, I've gotten my hair done in the meantime, and that's a relatively expensive thing. I may have even gotten a dermaplane at some point in the meantime, but I'm still wearing these freaking shoes.
Yeah. That is one thing I also always take care of. I get my hair done. That's like, and the other thing that I upgraded to, because I am on camera so much and I love it, is I get a facial done about every 8 weeks now. And that's
I think that's for my dermaplane too. I'm like, oh, okay, well, my face is on video now. Like I should take care of my skin. But nobody sees my feet. I mean, you guys would never have seen or have you?
They just carry your entire body.
Right.
That's all.
That's all.
Yeah. Right.
My whole world is on my shoes, and I'm wearing shoes with holes in them.
It's all relative. So right. So let's like, I think this would be a good way to sort of wrap up this conversation, is like, think about something in your life, and like whatever it is that pops to your mind immediately, that's the thing that you should be working on. Like whatever is the thing that you haven't been doing. Like in my case, I get my hair cut like quarterly. It's sort of a joke in my family. Like I cut everybody else's hair in my family, but I can't cut my own hair. And I go to a salon and it costs more money. So I'm always like, yeah, I'll do it next month. Yeah, I'll do it next. So I could easily get my hair cut like twice a year, sometimes quarterly if I'm really on good terms, taking care of myself. But so we all sort of have these things like that we are willing to do and not willing to do for ourselves. So I would like for us to sort of challenge ourselves over the next couple of weeks and maybe talk about that in the Facebook group about what is that thing that you've been kind of putting off and you just sort of think, yeah, I'll do that next week. Yeah, I'll do that next paycheck. Yeah, I'll do that whenever. And actually do it. And it really doesn't make a difference how big or small it is because it's all relative. It's big to you,
And can I throw one more thing in that just popped into my head as this was going on? So here I'm talking about how little I spend and how rarely I buy shoes, particularly shoes. The other day, so we're doing some rearranging again, Lisa Sharp. We're actually, I should send you some pictures of what's going on in our house because we pulled everything out of that big giant walk-in closet that actually is kind of partially mine and partially it's stock for our record label. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to make more room for some different things, and we moved all my clothes around. And then my husband said, "Hey, Imelda Marcos." And I was like, "What?" And he was teasing me about how many pairs of shoes I had. And I was like, "You have any idea how many pairs of shoes normal women have who actually have places to go, who don't live in rural Arizona? If we lived in New York, do you know how many pair of shoes I would probably have?" I was like, there is a pair of heels in here. I have a pair of nude pumps. I have 2 pairs of tall boots, but they're very different. I have a pair of Converse that I've never worn because our friend David Nichols did the art on them. That's actually cartooned, and they were limited edition, not quite one of a, I think they made 150 pairs or something, Converse All-Star did. So I saved those. I have not worn them yet because they're so cool. I don't know what this means, this whole Converse All-Stars thing. I should think about it some. I have a pair of Vans, but they don't quite feel right. I have some nice zip-up mini boots. But how many is this in total? I think under 10 pairs of shoes total.
Yeah.
Most of which I hardly ever wear because I don't go places where I, wear high heels very often. Right. But I just realized him telling me that I have too many pairs of shoes, maybe the subliminal message too that I have too many. I mean, he may have more pairs of shoes than I have because he has work boots, he has cowboy boots, he has his own tennis shoes, he has slippers, he has flip-flops. I'm like, he may very well have just as many pairs of shoes as I do. But I think I have let that sort of filter into my subconscious of you have too many pairs of shoes, don't buy shoes.
Yeah.
My kids keep growing out of their shoes, so I feel like I'm constantly buying them shoes because they're getting bigger and bigger.
Right, and there's no correct number of anything.
Yeah. No. But I wanted to mention that because I think for other people too, having someone at some point in your life tell you that you spend too much money on makeup, or you spend too long in the shower, or things that parents can tell kids sometimes.
Absolutely.
And then make you not take care of yourself in that way. So I'm going to go tell my husband, I'm going to the shoe store and I'm going to buy a really expensive pair of shoes. How about that? The most expensive
if it would make you happy, then do it. Do it. Yeah.
And it's not actually about the expense of the Converse. I think, I was like, there's got to be some, as we were talking, I was like, there's something else to this wearing shoes.
So yeah, you should write in your next 750 words about that. Do an ode to my Converse, see what comes up. Yeah. I guarantee you there's something in there. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end with thinking about when we're taking care of ourselves, are the stories that we're telling ourselves our stories or something that we've adopted from somebody else? Maybe somebody said something to you about taking a shower, or you own too many pair of shoes or whatever it is.
Don't be selfish.
Yeah, don't be selfish.
Yeah.
Right. And is it?
To give.
It's not selfish. Yeah. Well, great conversation, you guys. Thanks so much for sharing your insights in that. I think there's a lot to take away from this one. Lisa, do you have anything that you want to share before we wrap up?
Oh, my ebook is relaunching, so it's been kind of redone. So it's 5 tips to help you lose weight and keep it off. You can find that over on my website, lisacarpenter.ca/ebook. Pretty.
Oh, simple. That's cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. I haven't read that. I need to get on that.
I didn't know that existed, so I'm glad it is back in print. I'm putting my air quotes around print.
Yeah. So it's awesome. I'll check it out too. It's November 1st now, but by the time this episode goes live, it should be up and reformatted and good to go. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, awesome tips in there.
That's fantastic. Jen, what about you? What's new with you?
I have something new coming up, but I don't actually have anywhere to link it yet. So maybe by the time the episode comes out, we will. But Niamh, Arthur, and I are working on a new mastermind that may have something to do with Lighten Up when we make it, because it's all about us taking ourselves way too seriously, especially women doing business like we do, that we need more play and creativity in our lives and things to make life fun, because when we work when our head is just perched on a body that all it does is move it around, we're not really enjoying ourselves or having fun. And most of us are trying to make our lives into a place that we want to live in. So that'll be coming soon. I'll tell you more as I get more details.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's so important. It feels like a lot of the books that I've been reading lately have been talking about creativity and how important that is, and the importance of play and just resting and just being. So I've been trying to incorporate that more into my own life. I was doing some filing the other day, and I ran across my coloring book that I had bought last month and then proceeded to not use and stick on the shelf. And I was like, oh, this would be a perfect example. So I stopped doing paperwork, and I sat down with my crayons and my, it's a Bob's Burgers, you know, that TV show. Anyway, it's very off color, which is why I like it so much. It's just this really funny show, animated show. And so I sat there and was coloring, and my 10-year-old daughter came in, and she's just like, oh, you're coloring. Can I color too? And she got like so excited. So we spent like 30 minutes coloring together, and that bond between the two of us was just so beautiful. It was something that like really drove home how important this is, because normally on a Sunday I'd be, you know, doing my paperwork, getting my stuff ready, and doing my food and doing all the things that I need to do that are self-care, but part of self-care is also just chilling out. So yeah. I can't seem to get off the soapbox today. So I have a House Proud for the Holidays class that is starting in December. It is a 4-week crash course on getting your house decluttered and ready for your guests as Christmas and Hanukkah roll around. This is our 2nd year doing that. So I will put the link to that below. And yeah, it's all about self-care, not burning yourself out, and having some structure so that you're not going by the time the holidays run around.
Awesome.
That's always my goal.
Love it. All right. So if you're listening on iTunes, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. And please share this with your friends, your family, anybody who'll listen. It helps more people find us. And we're getting really amazing feedback from this podcast, from fellow podcasters as well, which is really awesome. They love the format of what we're doing here. So don't forget to head over to iTunes and do that.
And if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the show, and then leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of this episode. What does self-care look like to you? What do you struggle with? And do you have anyone who's told you that you're Imelda Marcos or something similar that has then stopped you?
That's a good one. That's a good one, Jen. Yeah, definitely. And come on over to our Facebook group. We'll put the link below. We have a private Facebook group that you can come in just specifically for this podcast, so that we talk about what we have been talking about on each episode, so we can strike up a conversation. So yeah, come over to the Facebook group and tell us if anybody's ever called you Imelda Marcos. So,
and if you don't know who she is, we'll explain over the Facebook group. You're too young to know who Imelda Marcos is.
And if you go into Facebook and you just Google All the Stuff, I think that's the name of the group, right? All the Stuff? Yeah. All the Stuff podcast, or just All the Stuff?
I think it's podcast.
Okay. All the Stuff podcast. And Google it. You'll find it. You'll find it. All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye.